to Clock In with Stephanie D. I am your host, Stephanie Drulard. Thank you for clocking in with me today. For those of you who have been with me from the start, thank you for your patience, as I know it's been a while since the last episode. For those of you who are listening for the first time, I welcome you. So, today's episode is going to touch upon problems. Problems that we encounter at work or even at home. Sometimes, no matter what we do, problems are front and center, right? Over the years of working in human resources, I've worked with people who raise problems, find problems, point out problems, yet I don't hear many solutions. I believe it's all about perspective. How does this problem impact my job, my team, my home, etc.? What can I do to resolve the issue at hand? This is a question that more people need to be asking, right? I encourage employees all the time that I support to look within themselves to see how they can resolve the issue or at least get the ball rolling to find a solution. What if we viewed problems as an opportunity rather than a challenge? An opportunity to shine or even to demonstrate our skills. We might even surprise ourselves. Joining us today to help us dig deeper into the concept of problem solving is David Daniels. David is a dynamic leader and certified John Maxwell speaker, coach, and trainer, passionate about transforming challenges into opportunities. As chief of the Acquisition Management Office at the Army's Ground Vehicle Systems Center, he leads a team of 18, overseeing 25 critical contracting mechanisms. With 32 years of experience, from Navy veteran to aviation innovator, at Standard Aero and Duncan Aviation, David brings strategic insight and practical solutions to organizational growth. Through engaging talks, DISC assessments, and the leadership game, he empowers teams to achieve excellence and drive results. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Stephanie D. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, I'm very excited. As I mentioned a moment ago, I come across employees all the time who raise problems. And I'm realizing that more and more people are seeing problems as a roadblock, as an
Mhm,
obstacle,
mhm, mhm.
but they're not really thinking about how this problem could actually be an opportunity for them, right?
Correct. Correct.
So, talk to us. Talk to us. Tell us what you've observed. What is your perspective on how we can pivot the concept of a problem?
Well, I think there's a couple things before I jump deep into that. Let me give you a little bit of my background because I think that helps kind of frame it just a smidge. And not everybody's going to be exactly like me, and I recognize that. I think I'm a little unique in this problem solving thing. And here's why. So, my life actually began in sports. But
Mhm.
my dad was a coach and a player, so were my uncles, so was my grandpa. So I grew up in the sports world and I grew up pretty good in sports because I had such that family dynamic behind me. So I
Mhm.
always ended up being like the captain of the sports team. And as the captain, you get additional responsibilities. And where I grew up at, the number one responsibility, I mean, from the start, was to figure out how to get the team ready, in shape, and all of those things. So when you get nominated as the captain, you turn around and look at your coach and he says, problem number one, how do you get these guys ready to play this season? So
Mhm.
that as a youngster started problem solving for me. I didn't really have a choice, right? It was something that
Mm.
was just part of when you accepted that responsibility, problem number one. So every
Mhm.
season, every sport that I played that I was captain kicked
Mhm.
off with that. Here's a problem. How do you solve, David? Now, younger, I didn't know they already had the answer, so I would sweat all night trying to figure out like, should we run laps? Are we doing calisthenics? Blah, blah, blah. But that was the
Mhm.
entry point to the whole problem solving thing for me. And then from there, it actually progressed. So my first professional thing was the United States Navy. And most days in the Navy, and I was aviation in the Navy, so most
Mhm.
days with the Navy were met with some sort of broken system or malfunctioning system on one of our aircraft. And those discrepancies had to be cleared as soon as possible so that that aircraft and the crew could get the flight time and the reps that they needed every month. Those things get paid to fly, not sit. So every morning we would discuss every aircraft in the squadron, there was about 30 of them, and the status of each one of them and how long it would take them to get them back to full mission capable so that
Mhm.
we could get everybody back up in the air. So we'd do unscheduled maintenance, scheduled maintenance, but from there, all of that passed down to the squadron, from the big squadron to the detachment, and each
Mhm.
detachment had 1 to 3 aircraft that they were responsible for. So as your aircraft crept up on the list, going back to a fully functional online perspective, your problem solving, problem identification
Mhm.
got more amplified because you
Mhm.
had to get all the systems installed, then turn everything on and see what happened. Then
Mhm.
everything that didn't work, you had to note all of those problems and then go back and fix all of those problems. Even documentation wise, everything had to be completed to a certain threshold or specification. So, in essence, what I'm telling you is I've been dealing with problems my entire life and didn't even know that that was something that people weren't good at or didn't like doing until
Mhm.
I got out of the Navy and actually got into the corporate world. That's when
Ah.
it actually, I was like, oh,
Mm.
this is a whole different perspective. These people haven't grown up like I did. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes, I understand.
So that was kind of the beginning of the whole 9 yards. So what I
Mhm.
wanted to do was kind of explore how to turn problems into opportunities. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? You kind of
Yes.
mentioned it, but I'll
Yes.
go through some of the things that I've learned along the way. So problems also often they feel like roadblocks. But as John Maxwell says in a book that he wrote, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0, the quickest way to gain leadership or influence, synonymous word in this sentence, is problem solving. I
Mhm.
believe problems are opportunities to demonstrate leadership and create positive change. Take a team conflict or an outdated process, for instance. Rather than a burden, it's a chance to innovate. You can come up with something totally new, a new process, an updated product, all kinds of things of that nature. Maxwell emphasizes that great leaders also anticipate problems, seeing them as signals for improvement,
Mhm.
not disasters. So, for
Mm.
example, a struggling product could spark a redesign that ends up outshining what the competition has on the shelf right now. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
if you look at the problems correctly, there's all
Mhm.
kinds of opportunity within them problems.
Mhm.
In addition to that, I think that there's a winning approach, but it involves shifting from asking, is there an answer, to believing that there must be a good answer.
Mhm.
So that shift in mindset's backed by a 2019 Stanford study showing that teams that embrace challenges are 20% more innovative. And that encourages me to see problems as growth opportunities because I want to be on that top 20%. Does that make sense?
Right.
And then I've also learned to ask a couple different questions. What can we learn here? Right? A
Mhm.
lot of people won't get far enough to ask that question, right? The problem
That's true.
intimidates them so much that they won't even say, what is the learning opportunity here?
Mhm.
Or how can we improve? This problem brought us to some sort of issue or crossroad that we need to get over, but it's either going to help us learn something or it's going to help us improve something. It's got to do one of the two.
One of the two. Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, in thinking that way, you start to unlock some more creative solutions. So
Mhm.
that's the importance of that part of it. So reframing problems into opportunities, again, opens up a lot of different mindsets, a lot of capabilities if you can get everybody engaged in the game. Does that part make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Did
Absolutely.
you
I
have any
like that.
questions?
Not a question, but definitely I like what you said, to dissect the problem and look
Hmm.
within the problem to see where we can improve, where we can learn, where we can be an innovator and maybe
Hmm.
create something brand new. I mean, why not?
Why not?
I mean, sometimes we do have to reinvent the wheel.
Right,
Sometimes we
right,
do,
right.
sometimes we don't. It depends on the situation. But rather
Correct.
than just look at a problem, as you said, as a roadblock, you know, where can we shine? This is a chance to really show what we can do. And this is how promotional opportunities and advancement opportunities come to fruition, by solving
Absolutely.
problems.
Right,
Excellent. Love it.
right, right.
What else you got for us?
Well, okay, let's talk about why problem solvers are so highly valued in organizations. I
Mhm.
thought that was an important piece of the puzzle because once you get past the fear and everything, you start to understand that, and you said it, problem solvers are highly sought after. They're, on that scale that helps them climb that ladder because they've been recognized to have kind of a unique talent.
Yes.
So
For
what I want to
sure.
cover is why problem solvers are organizational MVPs. So organizations thrive on problem solvers, as we've been talking about, because they turn challenges into progress. And it's not
Mm.
just from a product perspective, but it's the people, it's the process, it's the organization. Problem solvers have an incredible amount of influence on what happens within the organization and how it ebbs and flows. So, in that book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0, John notes, and I agree, that many significant accomplishments in human history occurred in the face of problems. As an
Absolutely.
example, Florence Nightingale. She
Mhm.
transformed healthcare despite some of her personal limitations. I mean, she didn't get married at the time that, that was a big thing. So being a woman and not
Yes.
being married in her time was
Right.
almost like being shunned, and her parents were happy about it. So there was a lot of drama in that. But
Mhm.
again, she transformed the entire healthcare system and organization, making it cleaner and more healthier. And
Right.
so there's a lot of things that happen there if you take that opportunity. Problem solvers don't just fix issues. Like I said, they elevate the team, the
Mhm.
products, the processes, and the entire organization. So think
Excellent.
about it from this perspective. I'll give you an example. Netflix, depending your age, you remember them, right? When DVD rentals declined, what did they do? They pivoted to streaming,
Streaming, right.
turning a crisis into a global empire. So some Dave
Mhm.
insight here. Effective problem solvers don't shy away from failure. In my experience, people do one of three things. One, they resolve not to make the mistake again, which is a little bit foolish. I mean, I get the intent behind that, but you can take that a little bit too far.
Mhm.
Two, they allow mistakes to make them into cowards, and that's fatal.
Mm. Mhm.
Three, they develop security to learn from those problems, right? And that's fruitful.
Mhm.
There was a 2023 LinkedIn report that reinforced this, listing problem solving as the top skill that employers seek. The top skill.
A top skill.
So by
Absolutely.
embracing that problem solving capability, you almost make yourself indispensable.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And you know
That
what,
makes sense?
too? In all the interviews I've sat in, I've been in countless interview panels. That's really what hiring managers are looking for, to your point. When they ask you a question about, tell me about a time when, or
Hmm.
tell me when you had a conflict within your team, or tell me
Right.
about a time you disagreed with your supervisor. Those common questions. They're looking to see how you take a problem or a challenge and turn it into something positive. That's what
100%.
they want. That's not something they can teach. You
Right.
really have to already have that within you. You
Hmm.
know, they can teach the systems, the processes, and all that, but not problem solving. So
Let me
100%
give
I
you an
agree with that.
example. Let me give you
Yeah.
like a Dave example from that, right? So
Uh,
I was probably right around a year ago. So the job that I do for the Department of Defense with the contracting, we
mm,
had a project come through, but the description of the project was all jumbled up, right? So
mhm,
problem number one, we're not sure what we're getting our hands into because we can't tell because the wording's not right. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So I pulled a couple of people
Yeah.
from my team together and we all looked at this information and started to dissect it. What we ended up recognizing was someone had asked for access to something that they're not allowed to have. But
Mhm.
based on the requirement, I had to come up with a way to do something close to that because that was the
Ah,
intent,
uh-huh.
right? Now, there's a backstory behind it. What they asked me to do was something that I've wanted to do for 7, 8 years, but could never get the approval from everybody to do it.
Mhm.
So it came into me as a problem. Once we dissected it, I recognized, ah, ha, 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 here's the opportunity to do that thing that we've all been
Right.
talking about, right? So I
Yes.
told my one girl, Scoob, go ahead, go make that happen, right?
Mhm.
And she's like, but they don't. I said, but we have this that's forcing us to do it.
Right.
right?
Yes.
So problem now became opportunity for me to close the loop on a thing I've been waiting for 5,
Mhm.
6 years. Now,
Mhm.
go 6 months from that, we have new administration. And I don't know if you've seen in some of those executive orders, they ask for specific things to be used for the Department of Defense to,
Mhm.
gain speed and commercial innovation and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
The thing that I was forced to do 6 months later became, you guys already have one of those in place? Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do. Right. Well, what'd you do that for? Well, I mean, I got kind of jammed into it, but we took advantage of it and made it into. And my boss goes, so you got jammed into doing something. You recognized that it was advantageous for the organization. You
Mhm.
didn't necessarily ask any questions. You just went and did it because you thought it was right. And I
Mhm.
said, yes, sir. And he goes, man, I need like five more of you. So, I mean, it
Exactly.
goes to what you were saying. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm telling you. And like you said, I love the term organizational MVP. 'Cause that's really what a problem solver is. I mean, this like the saying goes, I forget if it was Richard Branson or Steve Jobs that said, hire people who are smarter than you,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. I think
That's
everybody that's
that's a
smart said
no-brainer.
that.
Right.
I heard that from one of my VPGMs back in like 2002.
Exactly. Yes, yes. You want to be that person. You want to be that gem on your team that
Mhm.
brings those solutions. In a sense, you create your own job security, really, by doing so.
I'll tell
You
you one
stay in
last story
demand.
on this one. That
Sure.
it just happened to me Thursday last week. So I was briefing industry on some of those contract mechanisms that you were talking about in my bio. And
Mm-hmm.
before I went up, our chief of staff went up. So the order of the presentation was master of ceremonies, did their little thing, welcome to, the school, blah, blah, blah. After
Mm-hmm.
that, my chief of staff went up, right? She was introduced. She went up, took the mic, said a couple words about what we do. She introduces me. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that it almost brought a tear to my eye, but because I was standing in front of, 200 of my closest buddies, I couldn't let it out. But
Mm-hmm.
she said, and this is our chief of the acquisition management office. This is a guy that knows how to find a way to yes,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the MVP. Bring him a
Yes.
problem, he can figure out a way to make it into yes, right?
Right.
So,
Oh, I love that. I love
yeah,
that concept.
yep, yep, yep.
Absolutely. And again, not just at work, at home as well, right? If something
Correct.
comes up amongst a married couple, your children, your parents who live with you, whatever the case may be, rather than just allowing your emotions to take over at that moment when a problem presents itself, just take a beat. Take a beat.
Hmm.
Stop and
Hmm.
think about it. What's really going on here? Let me find out what the root cause of this
Correct.
problem really is.
Correct.
Sometimes it will reveal things that you had no idea was even happening in your
Right.
own home or
Right.
within your team at work, right?
Correct.
But it really is an opportunity to improve, to progress, to something new, to something that we've never seen before. For example, like Netflix. We've never seen something like that before. We were used to going to your local video store once upon a time to Blockbuster. All of a
Right.
sudden now we're just sitting at home watching videos.
Yeah.
That it
Yeah.
wasn't even a concept at one point.
Exactly. Now
So
you can't even find a blockbuster.
exactly. Exactly, right?
You're like, what's
Oh
a
my
blockbuster,
gosh.
Dad? I've never seen one of those before. Well, honey, it's a place
Oh
where
my
you had to used
gosh.
to go rent your movie. Little thing.
Right? You have to
So, yeah.
rewind and everything.
Hmm. Whole different machine for that, right?
Right. Oh my gosh. Those were the
Uh,
days.
dating myself a little bit. So let me
Yes.
tell you some other stuff that I was interesting to me when we were having this discussion about this as I started, kind of letting my brain run and doing a little research.
Uh-huh.
So what do problems introduce us to, right? A
Mm.
lot of people don't think about this either. And as I
Mhm.
started teaching some of this problem solving stuff at the corporate level, right, this
Mhm.
topic came out of that book and we pulled the thread on it a few times. But let me jump
Mhm.
into this. So
Okay.
problems teach us some valuable lessons. And here's a few key takeaways that I want you to think about.
Mhm.
So problems introduce us to ourselves,
Mm.
right? As I
mhm,
embarked on my journey, my professional journey, starting in the Navy, I realized that what I learned in the classroom wasn't nearly enough to take me to the top. And I didn't even know
mhm,
what the top was at that point, but I knew going into the Navy as an E3, that wasn't the top, right?
mhm.
So I got out of school, went to another school to learn about the aircraft, got out of that school, went back to the squadron, and realized that was book smart. I wasn't
Ah,
aircraft smart. I wasn't manual smart. There was a whole lot of other pieces to that puzzle that had to
uh-huh,
be kind of polished off in order
mhm.
for me to become a more complete technician, right?
Ah,
So
okay.
the problems that I was running into introduced me to the fact that I needed to grow and I needed to grow some more and I couldn't
Mm,
stop. Does that make
mm.
sense?
Yes, yes,
Yep,
absolutely.
yep,
Oh my gosh. Wow, I
yep, yep.
love that. What do problems introduce us to? Love
Ourselves,
that. See,
right?
you see a different perspective. That's what this
Mm-hmm,
podcast is really about.
mm-hmm,
Sharing perspectives, different perspectives. Sometimes we're
mm-hmm.
so stuck in our own thought process or stuck in our feelings. We don't take a chance to just kind of step out for a minute, you
Hmm.
know?
So I tell some of my buddies sometimes, you're so busy working in it, you need to
Mm-hmm.
back up and work on it.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Your
Yes.
perspective is so like boots on the ground, and I got a couple topics about that too. As a matter of fact, it's the next one. Let me touch
Yeah.
this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
So sometimes our decisions are impacted by our proximity to the problems. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
here's an example from my world, and I'll stretch it just a little bit because I'm not space, but I did a lot of time in aviation, so the concept is still the same. Right?
Okay.
So go back to one of the Apollo missions. When they were actually building the spacecraft, there was a discussion between the scientists who wanted all this mission stuff in the space module so that they could track what the astronauts were doing, atmospheric conditions, right? They take soil samples once they landed the lunar module. I mean, they
Mhm.
wanted to deck the thing out for scientific experimentation.
Uh-huh.
What the engineers wanted was a perfect aircraft. And what I mean by perfect is enough redundancy so that if something failed, it would still make it home, right? And we're
Mhm.
talking about a spacecraft. This ain't your Chevy, right?
Yes.
So
Exactly.
the engineers and the scientists battled about this for a couple of weeks, and what they ended up doing was trying to bring in a neutral third party to help resolve it. So that
Mhm.
neutral third party happened to be the astronauts. So they posed the
Oh.
question, do you want your spacecraft to be perfect and have the redundancies to get you home? Or do you
Mhm.
want your spacecraft to be filled with mission capability so that we can get the best scientific data possible ever known to man?
Oh.
Clearly, you know what that answer is going to be, right?
Oh
I
my
want to make sure
gosh.
I make it home. But again, that's an
Mhm.
example of because I'm right here and that problem's right in my face, my
Mhm.
perspective is a certain way. So if I back out of that and look at it from a different perspective, it should somewhat give me the ability to change my perspective.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, for sure, for sure. Just like softwares and systems, those who are working in a particular software every day, sometimes you're going to miss how the end user
Hmm.
uses that particular system. You're
Yep.
not seeing the pain points of the end user, but you as a programmer, as the engineer, you're seeing it from your perspective and you're in this box,
Hmm.
but you're not realizing that there are mundane tasks that you have to do to get from point A to point B. So to your point, stepping out and being on top of the problem as opposed to being in the problem.
In it. Right, right, right.
Yes.
Well, let me go to my next thing then.
Okay.
This one was our plates as leaders are always filled with problems. So
Mm-hmm.
let me frame this out for you. When I started with my team of the people that you're talking about,
Hmm.
I was dealing with problems, but those problems were technically because I was the new guy on the scene, new guy coming into a team. You got that whole forming, storming, norming, conforming, performing thing that had to take place. Once we
Hmm.
got past that, and I switched a couple people around and got the right people on the seats in the bus, right?
Hmm.
Everything kind of settled out. And then people started actually doing their thing. I created an environment where everybody felt free to communicate. We have good, lively discussions. We're a very diverse group, racially, age wise, male, female. It's everything you want it to be. But as I progressed in this position through the years, I started to recognize that my team is good enough that they handle most of the problems. They don't want them to come to me, not
Oh,
because they're afraid of them, but you know how it works, right? Like I got
yeah,
that. I'm not
of
going to let him
course.
handle that, right? I got it.
Yes.
So the thing that makes it actually kind of wild is
Mhm.
because they handle it, the problems that I get are going to be bigger problems.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people don't recognize that. And I wasn't thinking it
Mm,
until it started happening. And I started to back out of it and look at what was happening. And I was like, so the team's actually got most of it. And what they're doing is the problems that are creeping past them to me are ones where I need to be the tiebreaker.
mhm.
They think I have more information, or they just want to talk it out because they're not 100% sure. But if we talk it out, the answer usually pops into their head while we're talking.
Yes,
So it's almost like I'm a
absolutely.
sounding board sometimes.
Mhm.
I'm the tiebreaker. I might have a little information because I'm talking to somebody. You know what I'm saying? But for the
Yes,
most
yeah.
part, as the leader of the group, the
Mhm.
problems are bigger and technically sometimes harder,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
right?
I understand that. And you know what, too? With that said, for being a leader of a team who receives those highly escalated problems, sometimes those that report to you don't realize the stress you're under, right?
I'm listening.
it's
Tell me more.
it's they don't recognize that. They really don't. And they come to me and they say, my manager is talking to me crazy. She didn't say good morning to me today, or she didn't give me the time off. And sometimes leaders are under so much stress that they really just need their team to handle their business. Please handle the business, because once you get to that stage, if you get to advance to a higher level, that level of stress is so crazy that sometimes you are going to be harsh. You might be abrupt. Your responses might be brief. You're not going to always be, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning," and all that. We're not going to get it all the time, people. We're not. Problems are everywhere, and
Yeah.
some people deal with more problems than others. It takes a lot of
Mhm,
brain power to dissect and resolve the problem.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
just wanted to throw that out there, that sometimes, your supervisor, your manager, director, whomever you report to, think about where they're coming from and the problems they're dealing with that you don't even know about.
mhm,
It doesn't come
mhm,
to you.
mhm. I can agree with that
They are
100%.
everywhere.
I mean, I got 17 type A personalities. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
oh,
What we do is very like driven, but you know what I mean? If you were type B, I don't know that you could do this job because it'll
oh,
just eat your lunch. So I got 17 like, we're going to battle it out every day. You're like, hold on, can't we just get along for a minute? You know what
oh
I'm saying?
man.
So
Sometimes it's like that. Yes.
it makes it kind of wild sometimes, you know what I mean?
Oh my
So
gosh.
let me hit this. I think I had one or two more in what do
Mhm,
problems introduce us to
mhm,
ourselves, right? So growth through problem solving. And we've kind of touched
mhm,
on this a little bit too, but
mhm,
early in my career, I faced problems due to lack of knowledge. As I
mhm,
grew, I tackled the lower level problems like we were talking about, issues to impress my supervisor, offering little solutions, not just identifying the problems. But as a lead,
mhm,
I saw the benefits of problem solving and I exposed my teammates, my junior teammates, to some of those opportunities. So I learned
mhm,
that if you do problem solving well, it does give you an advantage. So when I was the lead of the new junior guys, I gave them
mhm,
some of those opportunities to be successful in the problem solving thing as well. Now, they
mhm,
might have been little nickel dime things, but to have those junior people go to my boss and explain
mhm.
to them the problem that they had and how they thought through it, and then they solved it, and then it's, well, you know what I mean? It just made for that momentum. Does
Oh
that make sense?
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I like that. You have to self-reflect and realize that there might be a lack of knowledge. There just might be. We're
Hmm.
all walking around thinking that we got this, we know what we're doing. I've been doing this for 10 years and whatever the case may be. But there might be a particular section or area or topic where you don't know it all. And there's an opportunity to learn, as you
Hmm.
mentioned, which will
Hmm.
only benefit us in the end, really. Learning
100%.
never hurts anybody.
Anybody, anybody.
Never seen that happen.
Right, right. And I got to tell you, this takes me back to like, I can 100% with full transparency tell you that everyone on the team is smarter than me in what they do.
Mm,
I haven't
yes.
physically been the boots on the ground doing the contracting thing for like
Uh-huh.
6 years. I'm top cover. I'm the roadblock clearer.
Mm.
I'm way up here doing things so that when it gets to the team, it's fairly clean. It's got some of the rough edges knocked off of it. Doesn't take them by surprise. We still got a couple more pieces to this, but the last one for the what problems expose us to when we look at ourselves was problems handled well make us better. And we've talked about it a little bit.
Mm.
We've both touched on it a little bit, but as you progress through the problem solving pyramid a couple times, right, and you
Mm-hmm.
get good at problem solving, you start to gain confidence at problem solving. And as you
Yes.
get that confidence, right, it's almost like a perpetual motion. Again, you start to build momentum. And confidence comes
Exactly.
from doing it well or learning from doing it when you don't do it well, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
feedback and a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of paper knowledge. You get the right kind of combination of things in the right environment, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
make you better, even if it started as a problem.
Perception. I'm
Yes,
telling you, we just need to change our perception.
yes,
That's what
yes.
it is. The minute we are faced with a problem, it's immediately, oh,
Ugh,
frustration is the first thing, which
right,
is fine. Feel it, get it through your system, and then focus.
right. And then check back in.
Don't just, right, yes, yes. Don't just let that feeling fester and fester, and
Right.
then you're talking about the problem. You're talking, but nothing's actually happening. The wheels are not in motion here.
Well, it's funny that you
So,
say that because that takes me to the next point, which is problems introduce us to other people, right?
mm-hmm,
So there's a
mm-hmm.
couple pieces to this one. People who make problems worse. You ever been associated with one of them? So I
Yes.
bring that you got a bucket full of gas and a bucket full of water, and you got a spark over there. Which one are you taking? Right? You would
Oh
think people are
man,
taking the water, but I
taking the
know
water.
people, right? That'll take the gasoline. I
Yes.
could probably tell you experiences where I took the gasoline. I was at the point
Really?
where it's like, I'm done playing. I'm probably gonna burn this one down. You know what I'm saying? I have been there. That's how
I
it goes back to
see.
the leader, the supervisor has those days too. If
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
honest, when I
Right.
get to that
Right.
point, I could accidentally grab the wrong bucket.
Grab the wrong bucket. Yep. Yep. It
Right?
happens. It does
It does.
happen for sure.
And then so introducing us to others takes me to another one. Have you ever met the
Mm-hmm.
problem magnet? Somebody who
Mm.
finds problems, always lives in the problem zone, historically is going to be a bit of a negative person because they live in the problem zone, but
Uh-huh.
not even them being that problem themselves. If you think
Mm-hmm.
about the law of magnetism, where
Mm-hmm.
like minded people attract like minded people,
Mm-hmm.
if you let the person that's the problem magnet hang out too long, you will find yourself with two problem magnets.
Oh.
Or maybe three or four problem magnets because
Yes.
they're going to attract
There's
some more
gonna be
problem
more. Oh
magnets,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Like a moth to a flame.
Like a
Just
moth to a
it'll
flame.
just kind of
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
love these concepts. Oh my goodness, David.
hmm And then
This
the
is
last one in
wonderful.
this one was people who
Uh-huh.
use problems as stepping stones. And I'll take it back to the Miss Nightingale story. There was a
Mhm.
book, I can't remember when it was, but it's called In the Cradle of Eminence, and it's by Victor and Mildred Gortzel. And it's a
Mhm.
study of over 400 successful people like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Helen Keller, Winston Churchill, Albert Schweitzer, Clara Barton, Mahatma Gandhi, Einstein, Sigmund Freud. But
Mhm.
in that study, it was revealed that 75% of those people faced poverty, broken homes, and difficult parents. And all of those
Mm.
people are considered extremely successful people from our
Mm.
society.
Right. Yes.
So they took problems and overcame them. In that
Mhm.
same study, many of the writers or poets from that group of about 400 people experienced significant psychological drama in their home life. And
Uh-huh.
over 25% of those people had physical disabilities themselves, like blindness or deafness.
Mhm.
But they didn't let them problems stop them from doing the thing,
Absolutely. It's
right?
possible.
So
It's
some of it's right here,
exactly. Yes.
like you
Yes.
said, kind of changing your mind and changing your perspective on what you're actually looking at. And my football coach used to tell me something, and I've kind of adapted it to the problem piece because we both said problem. You got a couple minutes to do that, and then again, you got to check back in. So I'll give
Gotta
everybody
check
a couple
back in.
minutes to be mad about it. Go throw some stuff in the trash can, wipe your desk, go stand outside. If you're the guy that smokes, go have a cigarette, whatever it is you need to do. Well, about 30 minutes from now, we need to posse up. We got some work to do.
About 30 minutes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
I
you're free to
agree.
get mad for about 30 minutes, whatever you got to do for the next 30 minutes. When you come back in this conference room, we got to be square.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. It is all about perspective.
Hmm.
Pivot. We've got to
Hmm.
pivot and look at the options in front of us.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, wow.
So I
Love
had
that.
one more piece of this that had a couple segments. If you got time, it's
Yeah.
up to you.
Yeah, sure, sure. Let's do it.
All right. So problems also introduce us to opportunities, and we've glanced on this numerous times. So this probably shouldn't come as any shock. But
Hmm.
Einstein said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." So
Hmm.
the leader who shifts from asking, "Is there an answer?" to "There must be an answer," or "must be a good answer," as we talked
Hmm.
about, becomes an exceptional problem solver and a magnificent change agent. So there's two pieces to that puzzle. Not only are you solving
Yeah.
problems, but again, you're moving the organization, the team, the product, the process. You're moving everything forward. So it's
Hmm.
not just about recognizing and solving the problem. It's what that does for the entire organization once the problem is established or discovered,
The
right?
change agent. There's
So
more
the
to it. You're right.
yep, yep. So I think the thing that makes that important is recognizing the problems early. What we as humans
Mm.
have a potential, or what we do normally is technically shy away from it. That right there just adds
Yes.
to the problem, right?
Yes,
So you got to
exactly.
recognize it. And I'll tell
Hmm.
you, great leaders actually almost anticipate. They start to
Oh,
feel it.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you get like the spidey
Absolutely.
sense goes off, right? The hair on the back of your neck stands up, or something weird, whatever your nuance is. That thing goes off, and you start going, I can feel
Hmm.
something's not right in that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You might
Hmm.
not be able to put your finger
Something's
on it, but you can
brewing.
absolutely feel that something's not correct. So great leaders anticipate problems. They're rarely blindsided. And like boxers, they know the knockout punch is the one they didn't see coming. So here's a funny problem resolution story. It's one of my
Hmm.
favorites. A farmer in Indiana comes up on a sign on the edge of a field, and it says, "If you cross this field, you better do it in 9.8 seconds." Solution. Problem: the bull that lives in this field can cross it in 10. So you better
Oh
be faster than
man.
the bull to get across it. You got a problem, there's a bull. The
Yes.
solution is you
Yes.
got to be faster than the bull.
Hmm. Hmm.
And here's his posted speed.
Exactly.
So
Oh my gosh.
it's
So how
all
you look
good.
at it.
On how you look at it
Yeah.
exactly. So that was, recognizing those problems early becomes important. But I think if you dig that deeper and kind of think about it, there's some questions that you need to ask. There's questions that
Hmm.
help you gain that knowledge and help you start to put the problem into perspective. And I don't have
Hmm.
like questions specifically, but just perspectives on questions. You can ask
Hmm.
informational questions. You can ask
Hmm.
experience based questions. You can challenge something that they told you type questions. You can ask
Hmm.
questions that kind of describe the magnitude of the problem or what you're facing. You can ask questions that help establish trust. You can ask personal questions. All of those things help to unlock information, insights, data that help you put perspective to that problem and start to develop solutions.
Yes, absolutely. Again, it comes with the ongoing theme perspective,
Hmm.
asking the right questions. If your mind and your heart is in the right place, you're going to view this problem or this challenge and you're going to start to think. Start thinking. Just put however you benefit aside and all of
Hmm.
that. Just
Hmm.
solving the actual problem, that raw issue. Asking the right questions to your point will help to develop those solutions
Hmm.
or to show where we need improvement, where we've been failing, where we lack. asking the right questions. Unfortunately, there are some of us out there, again, when we are faced with a problem, we just don't want to deal with it. I don't get paid enough for this. I don't have time for this. This is going to make me stay past my shift time, and all these things come to mind. Rather than sit there and stew in your frustration, like you said, just feel it about 30 minutes or so, then check back in, dissect, ask questions, get to work. The
Hmm.
solution will come up, and you will be that hero or that heroine in the situation. 100% asking questions. That's a very important point.
Yeah, I think sometimes
Totally
people
agree.
forget the data aspect of it, or they don't have it. They might not have forgot it, but you might not have data. My organization for a
Mm-hmm.
long time didn't have data. It wasn't until like 4 years ago that we started keeping metrics. So it was always a he said,
Mm.
she said, finger pointing thing. You know what I
Oh, I
mean?
can
And
imagine.
like I said,
Wow.
finally
Yeah.
I got to the point where we pulled the data together, and then it took me 6 months to get everybody to believe the data, right? But once they
Yes.
believed the data, then we got to, some change agent type stuff, process, Lean Six Sigma. But again, if you
Yeah.
don't have the data, it's hard to actually have some of those discussions because based on perspective, what's your problem based on? Prove to
Mm-hmm.
me that there's a problem first
That
off,
there's a problem. What is the
right?
root of this
What is
issue?
the root of this
Exactly.
problem? So we did that
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of years, and then finally, like I said, I came with data, and then I baited into the question again, right? And they were like,
Ooh.
"Where's the data?" And I was like, "Blam!"
I love it. Yes. You were ready.
Like I said, sometimes I bring a little fire, make sure everybody's awake,
Oh, man. Right, exactly. It's necessary
make
sometimes.
sure you're paying
Yes.
attention, right?
Oh
So
my
I had
gosh.
just a smidge of a conclusion for it. Well, there was a couple things, right? One last
Mhm.
piece, and then a conclusion. So learning from
Okay.
failure through iterations. I think
Mm,
sometimes people get afraid of that because
mhm,
you established that there was a problem. You maybe had the data to prove that the problem was real. You came up with an idea or solution to the problem, and it wasn't exactly right. But if
mhm,
you think about problem solving in general, there's a feedback loop that's supposed to be there so that you
mhm,
can monitor that what you implemented, whether it worked or not, and then you make an adjustment. That's
mhm.
technically
Right.
an iteration. And
Okay,
so
okay.
that's what Apple does with their phones, with all of their product. They come up with that
Mhm,
product, then they test it. Then when they find something wrong, they go fix that test, and they test it again. And then they find something
mhm.
wrong, they fix that problem, and test it again. And they keep running these iterations until they
Ah,
get to the product the way they think it should be. So that's
exactly.
what we
Yes.
have to get to as people in the process within our organizations. Don't be
Mhm,
afraid to put a fix in place and
mhm.
be 100% honest and say, I'm not 100% sure this is going to fix it. I might have to adjust that along the way. But
Yeah,
until I start to implement the new process or the fix, I won't know.
that's true.
So, no
That's true.
solution that I come up with, I go, this is going to fix it. I go, I think this is going to fix it.
Right, right.
Give us a minute to tweak it and play with it a little bit. And if we're way
Mhm,
off, we're just going to start over. But if we're
mhm.
close, then it's just maybe a course adjust and maybe some fine, and then we'll be where it needs to
Yes.
be. But it's about those iterations. Fail
Yes,
forward,
absolutely. Fail forward.
fail
Well said.
forward,
Forward.
right?
Perfect. Yes.
And so, in
I love that.
conclusion, I wanted to wrap up with this:
Okay.
problems are opportunities in disguise. If you look at
Yes.
that correctly, that's a huge opportunity. Every time a problem drops in
Yes.
your lap, you could beat a champ.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Exactly.
Because the fix of that problem probably has ripples into other pieces of the organization you ain't even thinking about,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
problems are opportunities in disguise. And as John Maxwell said, the best leaders approach problems with the lens of opportunity, whether it's a team
Hmm.
issue, a product flaw, or an outdated process. Adopting a problem solving mindset, anticipating challenges, defining them clearly, and learning from failures makes you a leader who drives change. Next time you face a problem, channel some wisdom. See it as a chance to grow, innovate, and shine, and you'll become that MVP for your organization.
Oh, I mean, mic drop.
Mic drop.
Oh my gosh, David, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
this topic. I mean, this, as I said, I hear problems every day,
Mhm.
and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, you're not thinking, this is your chance, and I have to help people kind of see things differently and step out of their own feelings. This is a very important topic. And, for those who are listening, honestly, save this episode, listen and re listen, because this is information that you can use at work and at home. Problems do not have to be the enemy, it is an opportunity, okay, in disguise. 100%. Please give it a chance. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Do what you need to do. Get upset, be frustrated, but don't stew in it for too long. Like David said, about 30 minutes and then check back in. Okay. That's all you get. It's 30 minutes. David, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your time, your thoughts, your expertise on this topic. And for those of you who are listening, thank you so much for clocking in with me today. I really, really appreciate this topic. So, goodbye for now, everyone. Take care, and we will talk soon.